Hello my friends, and it seems fitting that today we're going to be talking about some winter book recommendations when it is so very dark outside. It is not even 4 p.m. We're at 3:51 and it's snowing, so it's very overcast. The sun will be setting in less than half an hour and it's just so dark, which means you get some nice warm light in here. But we're going to be talking about winter, not Christmas books in this video. So a couple days ago I shared my my TBR for these types of books, and today I'm going to be sharing some recommendations. We've got everything on here. We've got some middle grade, we've got some fantasy, some mystery, suspense, thrillers, and some classics. I think that's kind of the gambit there. One thing that I'm learning that I really want from this winter is snowy books. So please give me your snowy book recommendations, but specifically snowy fantasy. And I'm into the fantasy and mystery suspense right now is what I'm really craving, and I really want to read seasonally. So give me all the snowy books you can. The funny thing is, when I'm going to make a recommendations video, I often search to get some ideas of some other books popular books people recommend, so that I'm not forgetting something very obvious. And it is interesting. I feel like snowy, wintry books, I have the most DNFs in this category out of any of my recommendations videos. I don't know what it is, but I have quit a lot of them. So today I'm going to be talking about the ones that I have enjoyed, and it kind of is in order, but it kind of isn't as well. That is how my lists go. First off, I have to mention The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It has a tiny Christmassy type scene, but I feel like for the most part, it's just a winter book. So we've got a middle grade fantasy story. I think most people know the story. It's super short. If you haven't read it or haven't read it recently, please do so. Technically, it's the second book in the series, but it was the first one published, and I strongly believe that you should start with this one. We follow Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy as they go through the wardrobe into the land of Narnia, where it is always winter and never Christmas. So definitely need to read this one. Next, I want to recommend Morgan L. Bussey's, her first book in the Nordic, can't remember what the series is called, but the first one is called Winter's Maiden. I have not continued that series, but in this one, it's a Nordic fantasy. So we follow this girl. I read it a while ago now, and she doesn't know who her father is, and there's some kind of war going on. I definitely need to read book 2 and remember, but I remember it having some winter vibes. I mean, it's called Winter's Maiden, so we've got that. Then we have Winter Heart by H.D. Fox. I read this one last year or the year before, and it's very much set in a land of ice and snow. And we are at the beginning, we start with a prince. His name is Prince Fane. He is running from his country, and he ends up in the neighboring country where he meets what is she called? She's an apprentice to the head mage, and he has grown up in his country. Magic is very looked down on, and then all of a sudden he's hanging out with people that do magic all the time. This is the first book in a 4-book series, I think. I don't know how many are out. This is another series I forgot about when you read the first book and the second book isn't out yet. So it's not on my radar as a series to finish, but I should definitely continue with this one. And then I want to showcase Mark of the Raven. This is the first book in the Ravenwood saga, also by Morgan L. Bussey. I totally didn't realize I put 2 of her books on here. But this one, we are with Lady Selene. She's part of House Ravenwood, and they live in a very cold area. They're up on a mountain, and it's got a lot of cold vibes. The rest of the books in the series are set in a different location, so they're not as cold as book 1. In this one, she is a dream walker and finds out that her family has been using this power for evil instead of good, and it is something she would like to use for good instead of assassinating people like apparently the women in her family have been doing. Really enjoyed this book and the series, but specifically the first book. One that I read a long time ago is Hunted by Megan Spooner. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and from what I remember, we are set in winter. Our main character, somehow she goes into a cave, and it's got the Beauty and the Beast vibes. That one has been a very long time since I've read it, so I don't remember the details, but I did enjoy it. I would be curious to see. I think she has some other books. Have you guys read them? Are they any good? Should I read those ones? Let me know. Of course, I have to mention everybody in my family has killed someone. This is set in the mountains in Australia and has a lot to do with snow, so it needed to be on here. It is a locked room mystery. Our narrator is Ernest Cunningham. He normally writes books about mysteries, how to write mysteries. He writes books on how to write mysteries, but he doesn't really write mysteries. But then all of a sudden he's in a scenario where he's like in a mystery himself, and then he writes it as a book. Very interesting. Definitely going to be reading more in that series. One that's going to come with some like trigger warnings. I really enjoyed No Exit by Taylor Adams. It is very violent. It is a thriller. We have a young woman who is in a snowstorm. She's driving home and has to pull over. So she pulls over to I don't remember if it was like a cafe or some kind of building where a bunch of people are just finding refuge from the storm. And after she's been in there for a while, she goes back to her vehicle for something, and she realizes that there is a van in the parking lot that has a young girl in a cage. So she wants to rescue this girl. She wants to figure out who in this building is the person that has this child in their vehicle. Yeah, it was very interesting for sure. And then a couple of years ago, I read Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This one was very interesting because the one main character has facial blindness. I can't remember what it's actually called, but they don't see people's faces, so they can't necessarily recognize people. That instantly kind of gives some unreliable narrator vibes because you don't know if you can even trust your character. But we follow a husband and wife who get a free trip to somewhere in Scotland, and you find out pretty quickly that their relationship is not doing well. Something fishy is going on with where they are, and they didn't really win this trip. Also comes with some content warnings, I would say. I mean, thrillers kind of generally have a few, but it was very interesting, especially that facial blindness. That is a really interesting concept for a thriller. It definitely can't be done too often. It would not be as interesting, but every now and then, that's an interesting one. Of course, I have to recommend Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, because we are set on a train that gets stuck in a snowstorm and one of the people dies. So once again, we got a locked room mystery thing going on, and Hercule Poirot needs to figure out who killed this person on the train before the train starts going again and people can leave. So while everyone is trapped there, he wants to figure it out. This is definitely like, I feel like a lot of people have either read the book or watched the movie. It's very twisty. I have never seen the movie. I'm assuming the ending is probably the same, but it would be nice if they didn't spoil it. But yeah, definitely recommend it. Would like to reread it. This is one that I would remember kind of the ending, so it's not like it would be a surprise again, but it would be fun to look for the clues as I go. A classic that I originally read when it was snowing out is Wuthering Heights. So it gives me those snowy vibes, especially like it has a lot of gothic vibes, and therefore I feel like it can be read in the fall or in the winter. It just has to be like a overcast kind of season when you're doing it. Contrary to how it's often categorized, this is not a romance at all. Most of our characters are not very good people. For me, what makes this story is the atmosphere. Like, it is a wonderful reading experience. I didn't really read it for the story itself, if that makes sense. I was reading it for the experience, the wind in the moors, and just the chillingness of it, I feel like, if that makes any sense. It's one of the classics that I read years ago when I wasn't even into reading classics at all, and I just loved it for the atmosphere, And the last book, we're going back, started with a middle grade-ish book, and we're going back to a middle grade book because I had to recommend this one. It's Alone by Megan E. Freeman. This is a free verse novel, so it's all written in verse. We've got like short lines and stuff. It's about a girl who says she's going for a sleepover with her friends. She tells her parents she's going for a sleepover with her friends. She's actually going to her grandparents' house, which she knows is empty. Her friends, 2 friends, are supposed to come there with her and they're gonna have a sleepover. But for some reason her friends can't make it. So she ends up sleeping there by herself. And then the next morning, everybody in the town has cleared out. And that part's kind of like, how did you sleep through the entire town clearing out? But we then are with her while she is alone. She comes across a dog that has been left and she's trying to figure out what happened. Interesting concept. I really enjoyed it. And it takes place in winter. So we've got snow on the cover right there. That is all for my winter recommendations for now. So many of them like have a bit of a Christmas scene. So I felt like they would be more for a Christmas recommendations video, or already were on my Christmas recommendations video, but I'm definitely in the mood for some winter books. So let me know all of the recommendations that you have. Thanks for joining me for another Bookmas video.